Welcome to another edition of Live from Hollywood with your host Lacey K. Summers and Franko. I'm Franko. Unfortunately, Lacey is not here today. She is doing a music video. So good luck with that, Lacey. But we have our always reliable talent correspondent Simka with us today. Say hello to the people, Simka.
Hi, everyone.
And we also have two very special guests in the hangout with us. We have musical talent Christina Murphy. Say hello to the people, Christina.
Hey, people.
And we also have PR expert Wendy Brynford-Jones.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
So just to get things started off, I'll just introduce the topics of today. We're going to be talking about how to deal with rejection in the music industry. And also, we're going to talk about how to stay motivated. And if any of you have ever experienced writer's block, we're going to try to give you a couple of tips on how to get past writer's block. So, Simka, what have you been doing lately?
Well, I've just been planning the events that I talked about last week. We're also putting on a TV show that's going to be highlighting local businesses on public access TV. It's going to be like, well, this is a New England thing, the Phantom Gourmet, where a reviewer goes around to restaurants and, eats their food and then talks about it, but nobody knows who it is, and then these two hosts kind of discuss. Anyway, we're going to do that with just local businesses and have like a competition, and every month feature one and then go and interview them and sort of talk about their products and how they are, fitting into the community and what kind of role they can play as a business owner. So that's just something we've been working on a lot lately.
Sounds cool. So now, next I'll go to PR expert Wendy Brynford-Jones. Wendy, just for the people that don't know exactly who you are and what you do, just give them a brief rundown of who you are and exactly what you do.
Sure, guys. Well, I started my own PR and web marketing business back in 2002 after working at several record labels as well as Yahoo Music. So what I do is I get hired by small or medium-sized record labels as well as independent artists and managers to work on new albums or tours. During the course of my work, I've also done a little bit of music-related DVDs and books. I actually did a comedy DVD. Simka and I were talking earlier about how sometimes she works with some comedians. I even did a rehab once that had a music angle. But the majority of my business is working with touring artists and musicians, getting them press, print, and web.
Okay, cool. And we also, like I said earlier, we have Christina Murphy here. Christina, tell the people about your style of music and the genre that you consider yourself in.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm a solo artist, but I actually have kind of like a full band vibe because I do like pop rock kind of genre music. It's my favorite. It's real energetic and fun, and we just go out on stage and we rock out, but I guess the closest comparison to my music is probably bands like Hey Monday, if anyone's heard of them, or Taking Back Sunday, or Blink-182 is one of my big influences. So we just like to write fun stuff and have a good time.
So have you done any live performances?
Yes, in Austin, I actually have my debut album coming out on April 2nd, and so right now we're booking like all over Texas right now, and I've had a lot going on. But we do have a live show coming up this weekend at the Flamingo Cantina down on 6th Street, and some others planned as well.
Okay, cool. And Wendy Brynford-Jones, I know you do a lot of press things like that. So if you were to, if it was some musicians out there and they wanted to actually get booked in venues and do shows, live performances, what advice would you give people to book more shows?
What advice would I do? Well, sort of when you're starting out, I highly recommend that you get a one-page biography on yourself that highlights interesting, parts of, where you come from, the kind of music you're making, and it's important, once you're starting to build, like just say, for example, Christina, she's based in Austin, she's playing a lot around Texas, of getting packages out to the media in her area. whether or not she's going to be playing in town. It usually makes more sense, like say hypothetically she books a gig in San Antonio, that she hits up the weekly there and the daily there and tries to get some press on herself. And once you start to build some media clips, you can then send those to promoters and say, hey, look at me, I've got this great new record, and look, I've been written about by local media.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, Christina, when you were growing up, did you have any favorite musicians and artists that you were into?
Definitely. Actually, the whole reason that I wanted to become a singer was in 7th grade, I had one of my friends just printed out a picture of Avril Lavigne back in the day. And she gave it to me. I just wanted to be nice, I was like, okay, sure. And then I went online, checked her out, and I was like, dang, this girl's really cool. She's real, and she's a rocker. She doesn't care. She's one of the boys, which is kind of like what I am too. And so I just kind of went from there. And I tried to do what all of my influences did, like Avril and Blink-182 and Green Day, to try to bring my career up, But I think that's the hardest thing for people who want to become singers, is trying to figure out what's the first stepping stone? How do I book shows and all that, like Wendy said, and yeah, so my influences are definitely the pop punk culture.
Okay, and you said that at first you were trying to kind of emulate those people that you were looking up to. And did you ever get out of that, or did you ever decide to separate yourself from them?
Yes, because when you're a young teenager, you want to be just like them, and I did want to be just like Avril Lavigne and all them, but I'm actually kind of a sweetheart, so I don't have that flick everyone off kind of attitude, And so I have become my own person, and I think that's actually exciting. As being an artist, you get to grow up and become your own artist, So yeah, I would say I have.
Right. Looking at you from an outside perspective, I really don't see you as a type that's the stick the middle finger up type of a girl.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you actually stuck your middle finger up? Was it once?
Yeah, you can probably count it on one hand.
Okay. Back to you, Wendy. What do you think is the hardest thing as far as being a PR specialist is?
I think the hardest thing for my job is finding the right outlets for the artist. It's very challenging times. We live in incredible times. And when I started this work, fresh out of high school, it was several years ago, and the internet and websites, all of that stuff was in its infancy. Okay, so this kind of stuff we're doing now, it wasn't even in our imagination. So, there are a lot more outlets in the sense that we've got podcasts, we've got more, internet radio, we've got all kinds of blogs, but really it's finding the audience that your music will resonate with. And I don't mean to skip ahead, but, you had talked about our topic today was going to be, how do we deal with frustration? And, it's so ironic because I literally had an email in my inbox today from someone who I had done a Skype consult with last year, an independent musician out of Austin, who said, well, I've sent out 100 packages, I did a follow-up email, I waited, I sent a nice polite follow-up email in another 2 weeks, and I've heard nothing. And I said, you know what, sometimes we have to pick up the phone. And then I suggested, perhaps you might want to create, a SoundCloud or a full streaming link of the album, because a lot of these smaller websites, and a lot of people are trying to reduce their clutter, they don't want to get hard copies anymore. And I tend to be old-fashioned. I always say, hey, if you're a new artist, send a hard copy of your album, but some people just don't want that anymore, so you need to give them options. So I said to him, chin up, maybe make some phone calls, find some, small websites, offer them a stream and say, if you'd like a hard copy, I'm happy to give it to you. You just have to keep trying, because if the music is good, you will find an audience. It might not be Rolling Stone or Spin where you think you belong, but if it's solid music, if you keep trying, you're going to find someone who likes it and understands it.
So Wendy,
that's my challenge, trying to get my clients people who understand it and like it.
So Wendy, dealing with the independent artists that you deal with, what I want to know from you is, do you experience a lot of people that are frustrated, or do you experience a lot of artists that are just they want more than what's possible, or they expect more than what's reasonable?
Some people do have unreasonable expectations. Some people are kind of mellow with it. Some people are exceptionally paranoid. I had a really bad experience, probably one of the worst experiences of my career, in like the fall of 2011 with a manager. I'd been dealing with his sort of junior level person, and then I was getting ready to go on a trip, and this guy was so angry. He was seeing my reports week after week, and he wasn't getting as much press as he thought he should get. I was getting hits. This was for a tour, but he was yelling at me when he said, "What do you mean you emailed twice and left a message? Why aren't people returning your call?" Well, sometimes people aren't that interested in the music, and then you just have to move on. But so he was sort of an unrealistic guy and being unreasonable. But I find that a lot of people I work with do tend to be reasonable. I mean, we can aim high. You know, I've got some current clients right now. We think they've got a good story for TV. We're really going to hit up some national TV. I don't know if we're going to get it, but I'm going to do my damnedest. You know, I'm just going to really try.
Okay, and just to move along to the first topic of the day, how do musicians deal with rejection? And I think anybody can relate to that topic, because in everyday life, everyone has to deal with rejection from time to time.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll just start with Simka, and then I'll work my way around. So Simka, tell an experience where you experienced rejection, and how did you deal with that, and how do you deal with rejection on a day-to-day basis?
I have never been rejected in my life. I'm joking. I guess if you want to keep it in the music industry, I used to do singing a lot, and I think probably this is kind of an embarrassing story, but when I was in high school, I auditioned for The Wizard of Oz. I got called back for the part of Dorothy with this other girl who was great, and I was so excited about it, and I thought for sure I had the part, and then they offered me the chance to either be in the chorus or be the understudy, and they said, if you're the understudy, you know, maybe we can add a matinee and you can have a matinee show of your own, kind of thing. And then the whole process was just terrible. I took the understudy role, and then the director was like mean to me every day that I showed up, and you know, would say things like, we offered you the chance to be in the chorus. And I'm like, whoa, you know, I just want to tell my aunt from Long Island if she should buy a ticket to the matinee or not. Like, it's not a big deal. And like, they never measured me for a costume. It was just kind of like, you know, stupid community theater. But, you know, as a 10th grader or whatever I was like, it's me, it's my fault. But, I mean, the other girl looked just like, you know, Judy Garland, and she did a great job. And at the end of the day, it just, you know, they could have rejected me better. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I went in and I did my job, and I learned my lines, and I learned my choreography and my songs, and I enjoyed it. And, I mean, at least I got the chance to be the understudy. And I think that we always have to understand that sometimes, you know, we miss out on one opportunity, but that means that there's just all the others that are still waiting for you. And you just have to kind of learn to realize that not one thing is ever going to make or break your life. Like, this isn't the moment. There's a whole bunch more to come. So, I mean, that's what I would say about rejection.
What do you think about that, Christina?
Yeah, I totally agree with her. You can't let one rejection stop you, especially if music or anything else you're doing is your dream, because that's going to happen. I mean, if you do things right, some people aren't even going to like you. So if you're being different, then, you know, not everyone's going to like you in the first place. But yeah, so I agree with Simka.
Okay, so coming from Austin, Texas, and doing the musical things that you do in Austin, Texas, has there ever been a moment where you felt like you deserve to be treated a certain way, or your music deserved a certain respect, and it just didn't happen for you?
I don't think so with the question that you asked, but I did when you asked earlier about the rejection and all that. I had one experience where I was playing live, and it was outside in an outside stage, and I remember just singing, and it was at like a festival kind of thing, so there were people everywhere. And I looked over in the right-hand corner, and I saw these two little kids with their hands over their ears while I was singing, and they saw me make eye contact with them, and right when they saw me, they go and like walked away and pulled the hands down, and I just remember being like, man, I'm up here like putting myself on the line, and then I was like, well, just shake it off, you know, like kids, they're just messing around. But I remember it kind of was like, oh, someone doesn't like me. But like I said before, you know, you just gotta brush it off, especially if it's your dream. You can't let it stop you.
How long, Christina, have you been writing your own stuff?
Well, I've been like writing poems and stuff since before I could play guitar, because I wanted to be a singer. And then I learned how to pick up the guitar at about 14 or so. Mm-hmm. And so I started putting my poems and the guitar together probably around like 16, and I'm 23 now.
Yeah, so 7 years you've been like actually writing songs with music.
Yeah.
Wow. And how long were you writing and before you started recording and before you started trying to book yourself? And did you have any help booking yourself, or did you just go to, you know, venues and say, I want to sing? What was your in Austin?
Yeah, well, like I said before, for a long time I didn't know like how to become a singer and what the exact steps were to get to that spot. And I actually saw an ad for a talent agency called AMTC. Have y'all heard of it? Mm-hmm. Any chance? Yeah, Actors, Models, and Talent for Christ. And I auditioned for them, and they put on this big convention in Florida, and they trained us how to be an actor, like how to use our voices correctly and all that. And we went there and we auditioned in front of like 50 talent scouts and agents from all across the world. And I got signed by Tate Music Group, and so I went there and recorded my album that's coming out now with them, and they've helped book me for a few things. I just had a album signing in San Marcos last weekend, and so they're kind of helping me out. But for the most part, I am, as an artist, I'm checking Craigslist every day. I'm just like Googling music submission, like anything to get my music out, you know. Mm-hmm. So I've been doing most of it, but I do have that help from the label, so that's good.
So did they pay your recording costs for that, Christina?
Yes, I paid them. Yeah, I paid them for the recording, but then I got like the photo shoot out of it, and they gave me a website, which I think y'all will be able to see later, and then they booked me and helped me out with any questions that I have. Hey, my name's Christina Murphy. This may be the first time you've heard of me. This may be the 100th time you've heard of me. Either way, check out my video. This is the original song I wrote called I Miss You, but it's the acoustic version. Check it out, and I hope you like it. Bam!
Cool. So, being that you guys all have had ties with the music industry, what I want to get into is a little topic of motivation. Like, I know sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, when you deal with the rejection that happens and you deal with outcomes that you might not have foreseen, what do you guys do in order to stay motivated and to keep on pushing? I'll start with Wendy and work my way around.
Yeah, it can be very, you know, the rejection can be very difficult, you know. I think as an artist, you know, and hopefully this doesn't sound too religious, you can substitute universe, whatever you want, but I've heard the saying, you know, rejection is God's protection. And I really liked
what... I've heard that too, yeah.
Okay, cool. I really like what Simka had to say about, you know, that one opportunity isn't going to make or break you. You have to trust that there's something better out there. So for me, when I start feeling frustrated, I'm like, oh my God, am I not going to even be able to get these guys just one, you know, plug for this tour or whatever? Miraculously, something usually manages to happen, you know. Say you've got, like for me, for example, say I've got clients playing like in a big metropolitan area like DC or Philly or Boston or New York, places that are huge where there's a lot of media, and I'm struggling. I look, I see, are there any, you know, suburban papers where I can try to get other angles? Are there smaller websites? Does this band's music lend itself to college? Can I approach college press about it? You just keep trying to find an angle, and you just keep trying. That's all I can suggest, you know, when it seems like, oh gosh, how am I going to get anything? You just keep going at it.
What do you think about that, Simka?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a procrastinator from here to infinity. Like I'm terrible. I'm terrible at being on time. I'm terrible at putting things off until the last minute. So I've just learned, being 31, that you can't do that. Like, you shoot yourself in the foot too much. So I just try to really focus. I mean, it's weird, you know, and for a long time I thought I couldn't do it. I'd just be like, well, it's just not my personality. I'm just a free spirit, or whatever. I wanted to, you know, try to make it sound like I was, I don't know, a gentler, kinder person or something, because I just couldn't abide by clocks. But really, I just had to train myself to every day, you know, make a list and what do I need to get done today and how do I do it. And then if something doesn't work, it's going to be on the list the next day, and I hate that. I hate having long lists. So I want to get my list checked off every day. And I mean, I just play like a little game with myself. If something doesn't work, then, you know, I get on Google, or I call friends, or, you know, whatever it takes to figure out another way to get it done, because at the end of the day, it's got to get done. I mean, we all have to get paid, we all have to eat, we all have to, you know, see our family and sleep. And like, I don't want to really be spending time wasting time, you know? So that's my motivation. Is I just know that if you don't do it right the first time, or if you don't put in the effort initially, then it just ends up costing you so much more in the future.
How do you stay motivated, Christina?
I would say definitely the thing that motivates me is that I don't want to be doing anything else. So right now I'm doing insurance for a living. Let me tell y'all how much fun that is. Yeah, so I would much rather just be able to travel the world, do what I love, sing, meet people. Marketing is something I really like to do. The thing that keeps me motivated is I don't want to do anything else. So.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is you don't want to do anything else, and plus you're passionate about your craft, which is music, right?
Yes, exactly.
Cool, okay. Wendy, just in case people want a little bit of tips on how to get a little bit more press and how to do, you know, things like that, would you go ahead and give them like 2 or 3 tips on how to better get into publications and things of that nature?
Sure, and I also want to just do a little, I'm not used to like saying woo-woo, plugging me, but I have been doing fairly regularly on examiner.com. If you search my name, Wendy Brynford-Jones, I've been doing weekly things for independent artists, like here's what a bio is, here's how to do your bio, here's, you know, here the things you do for pitching. So the tips I'm going to give you, one of the most important things that you need as an artist, a developing artist, is learn how to research properly. Figure out where your music belongs. I mean, it just kind of goes without saying. So like, okay, Christina's local paper is the Austin Chronicle. That is her weekly alternative paper. So what she might want to do is research. She can either pick up a print copy or she can look on the web, and she can say, okay, what other, you know, Christian, emo, or pop artists have been reviewed by this paper? I should try to figure out which writer I can send my music to versus just sending it to the guy who might be covering the hip hop album. So do your research properly, or she may want to, you know, look for, you know, female, you know, just research female fronted, you know, groups or solo, you know, emo artists. I don't know if you consider yourself emo or not, Christina, but I'm just you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think you have a great
Taking
point.
Back Sunday, I sort of thought, oh, maybe emo-ish, you know, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Figure
out where you think you belong. Yeah, once you figure out where you think you belong, find those outlets and start getting those people your music. And another tip that I learned when I was at a music conference that I worked with down in San Diego last year, this was really clever. One of the other publicists suggested, so say you think, oh, you know, I really sound like, you know, Taking Back Sunday or whatever. If you set up a Google News alert and you start to see where the bands that you sound like are covered, that'll tip you off where you might want to start thinking about sending your music. That can be another useful tip as well. And, you know, just always proofread. It's very difficult to write your own bio and to condense it and keep it short, because I don't recommend you go more than 2 pages. Have someone else read it. You know, spell check isn't perfect. Make sure it just reads really well and that it's interesting. If you have like an interesting bit of family history, put that in, because press people are always looking for an angle. Well, why should I write about her? She's pretty, the music sounds decent, but like, why is the reason I should write about Christina versus somebody else? So give them that reason if you can.
So how do you make it stick out though? Because I know these people get contacted very, very frequently. Is there anything you can do in order to make your material stick out?
You know, here's what I think, and I always suggest this to people. You know, you're artists, you're creative. If you can make your package stand out, like if you're mailing a hard package, if you can draw on the outside of it, if you're going to be sending a CD, you know, for example, a lot of my clients, sometimes if they're sending in advance, there's no artwork in it. Oh my gosh, that looks so boring. You want to have like a picture of yourself or a really interesting piece of art that'll, you know, inspire someone. Oh wow, I want to check this out. So I think that little things like that can make the package, the physical package, stand out more would be helpful. You know, color, that kind of stuff.
I was reading a book
little
where
silly toy in it. What do you think, Simka? Yeah.
a record label executive was saying that he was sent a demo in a rubber chicken once.
And he listened to it, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
That's weird.
They're thinking outside the box, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what I want to get into now is just to put up the sites of the people that are here. And right now we have Christina Murphy. So I'm going to see if I can pull that site up.
Well, yeah, for anybody who's at home bored, just go to christinamurphy.tmgartist.com. And I have music up there and photos and the bio that's not any longer than 2 pages. And just all the information there. And I have a little merch tab as well. I'll try to get that going.
Okay, cool. I'm going to see if I can bring up your, at least your Facebook.
Okay, yeah.
It's up there.
Great. Well, there you go. It's Christina Murphy. If you go there, you can scroll down. You can see all our comments and things like that. And we also have Wendy Brynford-Jones. And what is your website, Wendy?
My website is www.hellowendy.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you will see my updates when I do my Examiner articles and whatnot. Excuse me, frog just jumped in. My Twitter handle is HelloWendyPR. Yeah, that's some of my current clients up there on the website. Look at how smoothly you did that. Wow.
Yeah, so right now, as you can see it on the big screen, this is hellowendy.com, and you can go there and you can contact Wendy Brynford-Jones, and you can join up for some of her great PR services.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yes, I'm gonna be adding this feature on that I will be doing like more if people want to do Skype consulting if they don't want a full campaign. That's something I'm gonna try to build on more of this year.
Okay, cool. And Simka, if people want to contact you, just give them your email address.
All right. It's Simka, S-I-M as in Mary, K-A, .jireh, J-I-R-E-H, management, all one word, @gmail.com.
Great. And if anybody wants to contact me, you can contact me at frankdo@businessbatterypack.com, and I will answer any of your questions about the show and also anything about video podcasts and the websites. I guess, does anyone have any closing comments?
Good luck, Christina.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Keep putting it out there and keep having a good attitude. Sounds great. You know?
And I wanted to thank you to Simka and Franko, right?
Yeah.
For having us and doing the interview.
You.
Oh, gosh.
You're welcome, everybody. Yeah, I appreciate all of you taking the time out of your day to come and share your talents with us on this podcast. And I also want to give a shout out to my co-host, Lacey K. Summers, who wasn't able to make it today. We missed you. All right. Well, I guess I'll see everybody next time.
All right.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.